Good evening. I'd like to call to order this business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District. Today is Tuesday, February 10th, and it is 6 p.m. Would everyone please rise for this Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.3, roll call. All members of the board are present. Cabinet members that are present are Mr. Dolezal, Dr. Jensen, Dr. Pletnick, and Dr. Hendrickson. Item 1.4, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any changes?
310.
310.
Rubric.
Hang on. Okay, where would you like to move it to?
Wherever you would like.
Okay, well, we'll move it to after action consent. All right, any other changes? Okay, all in favor of the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 1.5, President's Report. Well, I had the pleasure and honor of participating at the Black Mountain Barbecue, and that was a lot of fun. It's really cool to see the little kids come up to the trailer for their burgers. I was also at the Employee of the Month breakfast, and once again, congratulations to our outstanding Employees of the Month. And I was also at Cactus Shadows for their most recent signing day, and we truly have some very outstanding student athletes, and congratulations again to each of those students. So that is my report. Item 1.6, board comments.
None for me this time.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm quick. I went to Sharon Palm Nationals, got to watch our teams compete in Orlando. Got to say that is a competitive landscape. Our ladies did fantastic. Cher making it to semifinals, Palm making it to finals, setting some new records for our school, our little school out here in Arizona, which is pretty cool when you think about the grand scheme of the size of these schools and teams. Shout out to our athletic director, Rob Gilmore. Watching him be there at the Nationals, cheering the team on, going in the park with the girls, riding rides, just being a part of the team was just a cool thing to see all around. So hats off to him. And I think we've all been very busy with the superintendent search.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to some boys soccer games, which has been fun to see. I know that the state finals start for our varsity team here soon. Congrats to our basketball team with how well they are doing. I think depending what time this gets done, they have senior night tonight in the gym. And then I'm looking forward to the business partner breakfast tomorrow morning. It was super cool that you could watch the Palm and cheer online. So I did appreciate that because I like to watch those sort of things. So even not being there was fun to participate and watch from home. And then looking forward to all the theater shows we have coming up. You know, Cactus Shadows is working on their production of Hadestown, and then STMS. My daughter's singing and dancing away for Addams Family coming up. So fun things.
Okay.
Nothing to report other than looking forward to continuing with the superintendent's search. That's been very educational and informative and a lot of fun, actually. And then also attending tomorrow's business partner breakfast. That's always fun to watch the business community come together to rally for the Cave Creek School District. So,
Awesome. Okay, item 1.7, superintendent's report.
President Greer, members of the board, I am happy to follow up and congratulate Sonoran Trails 8th grader Alara Simpson. If you recall, she was one of our January students of the month, and we were notified that she won the Junior Scholars Essay Contest and the Future Explorers Award. She earned a scholarship to join Lemire's Junior Explorer program, including 8 one-on-one sessions with a mentor from a top research university, Harvard, Stanford, or Oxford, 2 individual sessions with a writing and reflection coach, and ongoing support from a dedicated program manager. So shout out and congratulations to Alara. At the end of January, we had another Falcon wrestler reach 100 career wins. Congratulations to senior Dougie Kremer for an amazing accomplishment, and best of luck as he chases a state championship this year. As mentioned, National Signing Day was February 4th, and congratulations to the following students for committing to continue their athletic pursuits at the collegiate level: Riley Bauman, Colorado State University Pueblo; Peyton Wales, Montana Tech University; Kylie Don, Oakland University; Dylan Malone, Colorado State University Pueblo; and Trey Peck, Fort Lewis. February 5th at the Holland Center, we celebrated some amazing artists at the Cactus Shadows AP Art Show. Congratulations to Ellie Rice, Blake Hansen, Lily Hamilton Smith, and Caden Ramsey for their impressive art, as well as for designing and hosting the entire art show reception. These are exciting times, as some of you already mentioned, at Cactus Shadows High School. Spring sport tryouts began yesterday, February 9th, and our winter athletic programs continue their postseason run. We are proud to share that every winter team has qualified for the AIA playoffs. We have boys basketball, currently ranked number 4 in 4A. They are celebrating senior night tonight. Tip-off is at 7. Wrestling is ranked in the top 5 in AIA Section 3. The team competes in the section championship on Saturday at Agua Fria High School, and their goal is to qualify in all 14 weight classes for the AIA State Tournament, which is the 12th through the 14th. Girls soccer is ranked 6th in 4A. They travel to Pinnacle High School tonight for round 1 of the AIA Open Championship. A win, they continue in the bracket. A loss brings them back to the 4A bracket. Girls basketball is ranked 8th currently in 4A. They have 2 regular games remaining. Tonight they are at Mesquite, and then senior night against Saguaro is Thursday, with festivities beginning at 6:30 and tip-off at 7. And the boys soccer is currently ranked 23, and they travel to Coconino High School Friday for round 1 of the state playoffs. As mentioned, we are very proud of our cheer and dance teams. They competed at nationals in Florida and nationally placed 12th and 13th, 12th in game day, 13th in traditional, and dance placed nationally 12th as well. It's nice for us to be able to cheer them on and say, way to go Falcons, on their efforts. And lastly, congratulations to our Cactus Shadows Athletes of the Month, Miles Godfrey and Maddie Schultz. These 2 student athletes have demonstrated outstanding dedication, leadership, and performance. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Awesome. Thank you. Item 2.1, monthly financial update. Dr. Plotnick.
President Greer, governing board members, the monthly financial update is going to consist of enrollment tonight. So that is what we're going to be covering like we do every month now. Current enrollment of our developmental preschool through 5th grade, so our elementary levels, is currently at 1,328. Again, last month I reported 1,331. Now, also one piece to note. Remember last month it was that December period of time where we had a lot of withdrawals and not too many enrollments because, again, our registrars weren't back to work until January. So you're going to see the flip-flop of that this month, where you're going to see a lot of enrollments and not as many withdrawals, just because of the timing. So between December and January, that's where all that enrollment balances out. Current enrollment, and this is at our secondary level as well as our online and DSA. So you're looking at a small change in our middle school of 3 students. Again, a small change in our high school of 4 students. And then we are remaining consistent in those alternative programming. I wanted to give you a comparison of this year's to last year's student count. So if you look at August of 2024 versus August of 2025, you can see that we are down 445 students about. During that 10-day drop period, after those 10 days, if students don't show up, you can see that number of comparison. And then you can see our 100-day count, where at that point we're down about 425 students, let's just say. So you can see it's been pretty consistent. We've actually gained a little bit from that, at least the amount of loss from that amount of loss from the first day. January. So in January, the withdrawals, you can see there were 27 of them. You can see at the elementary, 7, middle school, 5, and then you can see the remainder come from the high school. You can also see on the right the breakdown of the grade levels that we did lose students from. If you do look at where we're losing students to, you can see that online, again, at that high school level, is where we see that big decrease in enrollment. You can also see that AOE, our own online school, we have that enrollment. We're also seeing that at the middle school this month as well. Now, new enrollments. Here's that big report. Again, last month you didn't see too many, but again, our registrars in the month of January reported back to work, so they had a lot of work to do. 65 new enrollments. And you can see leading the elementary and that middle school levels out-of-state students that have moved into the area and have enrolled to us. So again, I don't see anything shocking compared to the prior reports. You can also see the grade levels where we did gain students, but 65 students were enrolled in that month of January. Okay, you also can see per site, a breakdown of per site. Again, remember, you saw that last month in the January report, you saw a whole lot more who withdrew than enrolled, and now we're seeing that balance. So if you look at the overall enrollment from that December point of time, it is slightly down, but not anything that was really unexpected during that transition period. And that is it. Any questions?
Okay.
Yeah, a couple. So when you look at this, and obviously we're normalizing a little bit, what are the key trends that you guys are seeing as a cabinet that you're like, hey, we need to do something here. There's some things that we need to take action on, and of this, because we look at these numbers all the time, right?
In these numbers, and what I'm going to tell you on this is these numbers, they tell a little bit of a story, but the big story, we need more data. We actually met as a cabinet with a group that's basically an alternative to a demographer the other day, and this group was able to break down by zip code how many potential students are in every single area within our district. It gave percentages of households that are attending our schools and that are not attending our schools, and then also there is a way that we can work with this company to discover how many are attending private schools, for example. A couple areas we looked at, we saw 30% of the potential students were enrolled in private schools. And so we really need to dig into that data to truly understand what's going on. This is ins and outs, and that's what it gives us. But when we see and we pull those reports from the states, and we work with a company such as the one we spoke to, we can see what are the top schools, where are they going? Are they going to PV? Are they going to Scottsdale? Those who are sticking within public or charter systems, and then also the important piece is who aren't we reaching, and truly who we never reached, because if you look at we are one of the top zip codes for ESA usage in the entire state of Arizona. But if you look at it there, and I can't remember the phrase for the ESA usage, but if you look at, say, and roughly 900 students on ESAs, only 200 of those students ever attended Cave Creek Unified School District.
Right.
Therefore, there's 700 that never walked in to one of our schools. So the question becomes, do we set up moving forward to look at capturing those 700 if possible, or is those 200 we lost on that side? And then the other thing we need to look at is what are those top schools? Because the reports we can pull are where they're going. How many are we losing to Pinnacle? We always hear, we're losing to Pinnacle. Well, let's see how many we're actually going, and we actually can pull that data and see where those particular students are going. So that's really the modeling that we need to look at if we're trying to develop a plan of attack in order to look at how we can weather the storm of declining enrollment. And again, a majority of districts throughout the state are doing this as well, because for the most part, majority of the districts are declining. But that's the kind of data we need, demographer data that historically we've used. It can get us so far, but we need to start looking at it in a different way and finding resources that can pull us this information.
So, okay, the data rabbit hole can be a little bit dangerous. I mean, you already know ESAs are eating us for lunch. So that's our largest point. So we don't need data to tell us that we need to go after the online student. And we have an online academy. So what are we doing about putting our online academy at the forefront? Because for the better part I've sat on this board, I've watched the numbers, and it points to online. It points to online. So the finger's right there on online. So what are we doing? Because, yeah, we can go down and look at all that data, but I just look at the fact that we bleed at middle school, high school, and it's most of it, for the most part, isn't going to Pinnacle, it's going to online. So how are we getting in front of, and what data do we have of our own, which is the quickest data we can get to, and look at what point is that trigger happening to where they're thinking about transitioning to going to an online school? I know we've got some smart staff, we've got some really good principals that understand some of these mechanics as parents talk to them. So how do we do something versus continuing to, hey, let's get more data, let's sit on it, let's model. How do we take like some action and stop some of these things that are controllable? Because they really are.
Well, I mean, I can speak to only part of that, and I
I'm
can
throwing it
defer
out.
to everybody else.
Unfortunately, it's your presentation, but
Yeah.
the answer can come from wherever it needs to come from.
The one thing that we can look at is, since we've transitioned DSA, and we're going to actually see during the work study session a little preview of kind of the impact it's had M&O in our special ed expenditures. So that program starting there. But if you look at where we were last year with the CCAOE enrollment, it was in the low 20s, somewhere in there, and we're in pushing the 30s now. So even opening that program and expanding that program there, we're beginning that alternative programming to recapture. And we spoke about that for the past few months of what can we do differently in that dropout prevention kind of piece. And we're beginning to capture that now. Moving forward, I'll let others speak to how we're looking at pushing that out more.
Do we just to kind of go off of that, do we allow students, once they're in AOE, could they still participate in the extras within the district that keep them tied to us a little bit more than being like, oh, this is frustrating, I'm now going to switch to another platform, such as can they do our almost like has a
Yes,
a
Member Walker.
homeschool student could do?
So they
can?
Correct. If they're
Sports and
in our district and they are participating online in our program, then yes, they are allowed to.
They can do EVIT. They can do.
They can do EVIT. They could do sports. They could do clubs.
But are they allowed to take, let's say, the theater class or the art class in person and during the day, so that they could be on campus, like if their parent would support that, like, yeah, and then still take their core classes online?
Honestly, we haven't had anybody want that so far, but yes, we are willing to work with them quite a bit to take advantage of some parts of that. The one piece I want to add, just because before we go too far down the online rabbit hole, there is some research coming out, and I think it's just going to get stronger, that online is not super effective. And so as much as we want to get into the business of schooling and the economics of schooling, I also think we need to remember the mission of schooling, and that we do want to cause children to learn, cause students to learn. And if we've got, right now it's just limited data, but if there are multiple studies that start coming out, if this is a way to prevent a student from dropping out, then I'm all for it. But if I have my choice between a student in our brick and mortar or a student sitting in their home by themselves learning, I'm going to choose them to be connected in our schools any day of the week. And for that reason, we do try to connect them. So if they want to go to EVIT, we've been working with them on EVIT. If they want to go to art class, we will try to make it work as long as it fits with their schedule and they comply with our rules. We even have some applications that we've provided them because we've tried to kind of formalize the process so that they can apply for the things that they want to participate in our brick and mortars, if that makes sense. So that it's formalized, it's not just, hi, I'm here today, I'm not tomorrow.
Yeah. I just was thinking how to eventually get them back if we can connect them
That's
to
the
the
gateway.
physical campus.
Yes.
I understand the point. We want them in the school, but when we're losing, if the conduit is to double down on online in the aspect to transfer them to in person, to me that's the battle. Like that's the game changer. And even to what you guys just said is, imagine our district is kind of like a Burger King slogan. We make it your way. Like, hey, you can do a little online, a little in person. We're unique that way. I mean, that does start to separate us from everybody else.
Well, and Vice President Moore, again, I think we've seen this year. We knew this year was going to be slow at Desert Sun and really roll this thing out and do it right and well and not over open or not overdo it to where our staffing can't handle it. So again, as we look at, I'm very pleased that we've got 10 to 15 students who would have left us in the past who are now we are retaining and keeping and they're using that to their advantage. So again, it's growth, and as we gain students, then we need to hire staff for it. So again, we don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it is something that we're excited about and happy that we've got that option for students in our district that are taking advantage of it. And I do believe it'll continue to grow.
Can you go back to the first slide, by chance? Oh, not that one. That first slide. There you go. So when we talk about immersion, we've had a lot of conversation around that. What is for the most part, it's been steady. There hasn't been a high plus or minus in that category. Obviously, we're going K through 5, and then they would go to STMS, then they would go to high school. How does that look going to the future? Is that something that's scalable? Is that something that makes sense? I know Member Walker said to me last night something that actually kind of made me think was like, what if that was a K through 8? Does that offer up unique abilities from grants and so on if we kind of position that one? Because that school as a building, really, there's nothing else we can do with it other than it being a school. So is there some kind of opportunity to help it flourish? Because it seems like we're sitting in stagnant.
So you're saying, could you make immersion K-8 self-contained at Desert Willow?
And would there be any, again, for the finance guy in the room, is there creativity in how that would function that might offset some of the expense load?
I don't see why you couldn't do it programmatically, except for the fact that their offerings would be limited. So while we might offer multiple math options for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders because we've clustered them all together, so it's easier to program for them, that group of 35 would just not be involved in that, so they are stuck with their math, their ELA in a self-contained classroom, K-8. So programmatically, that's what I'm thinking of right now, but I would probably want to get some other brains around mine to think through that.
And it would be worth further discussion at our work study when we're getting into this stuff, for sure.
And just for this, now anybody that attends at school is in immersion. That's why we just have the 4th and 5th grader white zeros until then, right? So after next year, that's the last class that we have some still in non-immersion.
Yes, Member Walker, correct.
Okay.
Any other?
I have one other thing just with this chart too. So the developmental preschool portion, but they still have like a pre-K on campus, but is that not in these numbers because they're part of ECS?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And so we receive state funding for those students that are listed up there. We don't receive state funding for ECS students because they pay tuition.
Okay. And then, are you tracking, I know this is a rabbit hole tracking point, but are you tracking recruitment? So when we look at some of our enrollment numbers, obviously we know, for example, Coach Dixon, Coach Marcel, they're actively recruiting people from other districts. Are we tracking any of that?
No, they're not.
No, we are absolutely not.
No, I'm just curious.
No,
Not that you can recruit. No, I'm not saying like that. You know what I mean. The students are attracted here because we have a good program.
Okay, there you go.
Excuse my,
Actively marketing.
whatever the case may be that's legitimate, not trying to cause a flag. Good God. Sensitive much?
Anything else?
I'm good. Apparently I opened
Okay.
Pandora's box
All
on
right,
that one.
moving right along here. Item 2.2, the financial update tax credit. Dr. Pletnick.
President Greer, members of the governing board, this is required, a requirement by law in order to report our tax credit for the calendar year 2025. So when we pull these numbers, the difficulty in tracking this is, yes, we could have received it last school year, but it's in the calendar year. So this is one of those very odd pieces that we have to track that honestly for us is very difficult because we have to work in 2 years and then cut 1 year off, and so it becomes tricky. So I do want to say that the finance department did a phenomenal job in pulling the data. So again, tax credit accountability, we have to maintain detailed accounting records. We have to ensure that they're only used for allowable expenses, and it has to be in support of the school and what the taxpayer designates on that tax credit form. And we have to submit a report that shows the number of payments, dollar amounts, and it categorizes each of the expenditures from the tax credit program, all by the end of the month of February. So what qualifies? Extracurriculars, character education programs, standardized testing fees for college credit, preparation courses and materials for standardized testing, career technical education, certification assessments, and also now it covers, once again, capital items under ARS statute 15903C. So that is something that we're very happy that the legislature did bring back for us. And also, just to let you know, with the tax credit can't be used for just anything. So there are strict guidelines. There's 8 questions that have to be answered when we file that expenditure every time it's used. So it is a restricted source of funding, but it is a great source of funding to supplement our programs. Now, what if we receive tax credits contributions that aren't designated for a specific purpose? Somebody just sends it in and doesn't designate what to use it for. Each school has a site council, and they can determine how those funds can be used to support activities, again, following the eligibility guidelines by the state. So this is just how our expenditures, how much we spent in 2025. Again, calendar year is the key, so it crosses school years. It does not break it down simply, last school year, this school year. So you can see the total amounts that they were used, and on the left-hand side, you can see all the various items that it could be used for. Now, revenues. You can see revenues for the calendar year from each site and how much we did bring in and how many donors. I included that this year. Historically, that hasn't been included, but it is kind of interesting to see how many people did use tax credit at each of the schools. I will say, Cactus Shadows being much larger than the other schools, one thing we can point to, athletics and the participation. And you can see a history of our tax credit revenue. You can see we have seen a decrease over the years. Again, as a reminder, that would also follow along partially with our declining enrollment as well. And just to put this up there, which we do every year, there's a tax credit video that is on the website. in the year 2025, we had that mailer that did go out, and we also have our website that people can go to for tax credit. So that is the last slide. Do you have any questions?
So anybody that is late to doing their taxes and starts going to go through this year's.
No. Remember, the deadline isn't that December 31st. I mean, that changed
Couple of years
6
ago.
years ago, maybe 5 years ago. So they can still make a tax credit donation up until that tax deadline.
And can you remind how much public district parents can donate for tax credit and how much private schools can?
I'm going to have to look up the private school number again. I don't have that. But absolutely member Moore. He knows right off.
200 for public schools, 200 for single, 400 for family, up to, and it's really higher than this, but up to 2,500 for private school. We're the lowest in tax donation credit.
Charter's now varied?
Charter's got an upside, yeah. They're not in the 200, 400.
How did they get theirs moved up? Just kidding.
The game is skewed.
It is definitely skewed.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
So the mailer goes to all homes in the district, not just homes that have students in them?
We did send out the previous year in November of 2024. The mailer did go out, and I know you're probably going to ask numbers, Member Walker. So to give you an idea, the mailer cost us in November of 2024 just over $6,700 to send out. The tracking, again, a little bit difficult, but when we look at from when it was sent out from November through March of 2025, it brought in about $12,000.
And how many homes did that go out to? Do you know?
I would have to research
that's
to
fine.
see what the company, because we do hire a company to print and mail those for us.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just thinking probably, a lot of our community that does not have students, now that we have that capital portion, if they knew, hey, you can donate this and it goes for this, might be a good way to grab more.
Now, Member Walker, the amount they printed, I can't say if this is the amount that was actually sent.
Yeah.
But the amount they printed was $36,359.
Oh, wow. Okay.
359.
Anything else? Okay. Item 3, action consent. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we have item,
well-
we moved one.
Right, before you get to that with that action item right there, Madam President and members of the board, with that action, and I know we've got 310 to come up, but you have approved our new Director of Facilities. Please note that this is a replacement for our former director who resigned. It is not a new position, but it is my pleasure to share a little bit of information about Mark Carvis. Mark is joining CCUSD with extensive experience as a Director of Facilities Maintenance and Construction within Arizona Public Schools. He is very excited to join Cave Creek Unified School District. Over the years, he has collaborated in and led numerous capital projects, worked with the School Facilities Division, and is deeply committed to the safety and sustainability of all facilities. He believes students, families, staff, and communities should be able to take great pride in their schools and looks forward to work with the district and site leadership, board members, and everyone who is part of the district to support excellence in our schools. Thank you for allowing me to do that, and please continue with 310.
All right. Item 310, approval of the reduction in force rubric presented by Dr. Hendricks.
Madam President, Cabinet Administration recommends the board approve the reduction in force rubric as presented.
So moved.
Second.
You pulled this, so
I know, we get to go to questions now?
yes.
Okay, just double checking, make sure we got this right. So a question on this one, do we have the slide by chance now?
Do we have the rubric slide?
Oh, you want to see the rubric? Have it up there.
Daniel, I'm going to share with you right now.
So while you're doing that, my question that I have on that one is, given the scale obviously, HR in the business world, HR in the school world is fundamentally different. So when you're looking at how you come together with that one, when you look at tenure, when you look at all these different things, what are the fail safes that allow you to kind of navigate, and make sure that you're retaining top performers and kind of, I mean, not trying to be cold here, but just poor performer versus top performer, because sometimes, based on what I read, I'm like, there's some ways that can kind of play out. So I was just kind of curious from the educational side, how do you guys navigate that?
Yeah, Member Moore, great question. And so the legal capacity for the RIF rubric changed back in about 2009, 2010, where in Arizona we don't have tenure. What we have is we have continuing and probationary teacher, which means how many years they've been in the district. Once you've been in for the majority of 3 years, you become a continuing teacher. So state statute and policy does not allow you to use continuing status as the marker, which continuing status seems to like you'll have your more experienced teachers. And so with the rubric that I just shared with Daniel, he's going to be pulling up. So we're allowed by law to have certain categories in which that we can pull from. So we look at certification. So teachers that hold more than one certificate, they may be highly have an endorsement in a specific certificate, advanced degrees, whether it be beyond a bachelor or master's, doctorate, things like that. So those things will then allow you to go, okay, who are your teachers that will stand out more because they have additional training? They're contributing to the district at a higher level. And then obviously the evaluation, that's a heavy piece on there. And so the teachers that are highly effective in the classroom are going to be rewarded more on this rubric. And so although it doesn't allow for tenure or continuing teachers to get a guarantee, it's those teachers that have been adding to the profession, that have been adding to this district, that have a wealth of experience and advanced degrees, advanced training. They will naturally stand out above a teacher who's going to be more of a novice teacher that doesn't have that experience. So that's why the rubric allows you to have those categories. So you'll see overall teaching experience is a factor. It can't be the only factor, but that's going to be overall teaching experience, not just in our district. So for instance, a first-year teacher in our district is going to be a probationary teacher, even if they came with 20 years of experience prior to us. But we know that 20 years of experience is valuable experience, so they're not going to be losing points like a third-year teacher who now becomes a continuing teacher in our district. So,
and then when you look at some of the measuring points, who is the grade? Who's grading this basically, or who's the contributor? Is it a multi-contributor, meaning like if it's a teacher, is it the principal and district? Is it just the principal? Like, who facilitates the mechanics of it?
Yeah, so the majority of it's going to be a combination. So the evaluation, the professionalism piece, that comes from the principal who does the evaluations, and so they would contribute to that. And then the teacher would fill out, their certification and then their education level. That gets checked by HR on our end. And so that's kind of the process through that. So it starts at the site level, they sign off on it, and then my team would go through and say, okay, let's actually look at these, give it a final score, and then do a ranking of them. Yep.
How does it work I know we have quite staff with longevity, I think technically retired, but then are back as a contract teacher. I don't know the right verbiage.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
ESI, return to work ESI. Yeah. So we do have some teachers who what they do is it's fortunate in Arizona they have an opportunity to retire, go to work for a third party, and then we rehire them through that third party. So those teachers are on a one-year contract. They're not on a continuing contract. So those do potentially run the risk of those would be the first to go. People that are not certified in their position would be those first cuts to go. Or teachers that start after the start of the school year. They're on what we call a balance of year contract. So those teachers, we don't have very many. Most of them stay on ESI for 1 year. I know one in particular was on ESI this year, is fully retiring next year. So.
Any other questions?
No, thank you. That was helpful.
Absolutely.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Item 4, public comments. We have none. Okay. Item 5, we have no old business. And item 6, new business. There is none. So we're up to item 7.1, upcoming events.
Yes, so Madam President, members of the board, a couple of upcoming events. Monday, February 16th is President's Day. All district schools and offices are closed. A little further out is spring break, March 19th and 13th, and all schools and offices will be closed. And yes, there is an error published on there in terms of February 19th. There is no forum moving forward. So the only really upcoming events we've got are those 2 holidays.
Okay. Item 8, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Do we need a
Aye.
second?
Well, is that 1
That's
and
1,
2?
2? I don't know how that works.
How'd you record it?
Hold on, did you get a 1 and 2?
You got both of them?
Okay.
So then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned, and it is 6:40.